is good, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Tyler Hill Podcast. Today is Fourth Friday, which means you just get me. And today I'm going to try something different. If you're watching here on YouTube, this might not be the most visually stimulating episode I've ever done. But for those of you listening audibly, what I'm going to do is read today an essay that I wrote on Substack. It's an essay I'm particularly proud of. It's something I've been thinking about a lot. And one of the things I love about this particular essay is that it serves as a great integration of the spiritual and the practical. Or maybe you don't, but a lot of you know the core of my teaching is belovedness, teaching people about their inherent goodness, the ways in which we were not born wretched sinners, scum of the earth, but actually we were born lovely and good, and that God delights in who we were created to be, that we were born beloved and are still that way. Now, when I teach that, though, a lot of folks will say, Tyler, it's cool to know we were born beloved and that we still are beloved, but how does that impact my practical life, right? I have bills to pay, that sort of thing. And I wrote this essay as one of the many ways I believe spirituality and practicality are integrated with one another. It makes me think of I'm holding up, for those of you listening, a book here from the great Jesuit psychologist and priest Anthony DeMello. I'm holding up his book, which is called Awareness. But he speaks very eloquently, albeit sometimes very potently and directly, about the beauty of how practical spiritual life and spiritual living is. It's not about ethereal, just living with our heads in the clouds on some constant psychedelic trip, but rather being spiritual has wildly practical implications on the life we live. And this essay is here to speak into that in one particular way, especially as it relates to an abundant mindset. And so here we go, my essay called The Abundance of Belovedness. How trusting you are already loved changes the way you create, work, and dream. For some, work is a delight. For others, it feels like demand. Some leap out of bed, eager to begin, while others drag their feet and their soul toward the day. Whether we enjoy or resist it, work is stitched into the fabric of our humanity. It is part of our design. Made in the image of God, one of the first things we witness the divine doing is create. At the very, very beginning of the holy text, God labors, investing energy into the cultivation and manifestation of beauty. To be like God is to work, to shape, to form, to bring something into the world that did not exist before. This is why Adam and Eve, even in paradise, were given work to do. Humanity's first calling was to tend the garden, name the creatures, and cultivate creation. Work is not a curse or punishment, it is a gift. A beautiful part of our existence, a way of participating in the ongoing unfolding of God's good work. Every time we put our hands to the task, whether writing words, raising children, tending to the earth, or building a business, we join God in the ongoing act of creation. We are invited into this mystery not as beggars trying to earn favor, but as beloved children trusted with family work. Work, then, is not just toil, it's dignity. It is holy. It is a way of participating in divine life. As Madeline L'Engle once wrote, co-creation is not a privilege, it is a responsibility. This call to work is not about clocking in for God as if they were a boss in the sky. It is about aligning with the dreams God has already planted within you and giving yourself permission to see them made manifest. Remember, God delighted in the work of creation. He stepped back and called it good. That same delight is meant to be yours too. When you create beauty, wealth, opportunity, or stability, you are not merely surviving. You are stepping into the joy of being fully alive. You are shaping the world in partnership with the divine. Let's note that working hard and beautifully does not mean despising your dreams. Quite the opposite. The invitation to work is to lean into God's own joy and to participate into what stirs wonder in your soul. To work in a holy way is to live as a co-creator, trusting that your deepest desires are also the dreams of God, seeds planted for your flourishing and the flourishing of the world. So pour yourself into them, my friends. Trust that the desires in your heart are part of God's story unfolding in you, and that as you work toward these things, be it in your actual job or your free time, you and your dreams are truly good. And yet, for many here, there is a conflict. If work is holy and beautiful, it's meant to bring delight into the world, then why does it so often feel like a slog? Why does it leave so many exhausted, resentful, and numb? I believe the answer is not in the work itself, but it's in the ground from which we work. The soil matters. The place we create and work from determines the kind of fruit that grows. And much of humanity is not planting seeds or tending to life from a place of belovedness. So much of our striving is born out of a lie, the belief that we do not have enough. Not enough love, not enough worth, not enough belonging, not enough money. We spend our days running on the fuel of scarcity, trying to earn what has already been given. But scarcity-driven work always destroys us. When we work from scarcity, we overwork, and overwork causes violence. A field overworked, it loses nutrients. A tool overworked cracks. A human being overworked loses joy, tenderness, and sometimes even the will to live. So how do we work differently if the way we are working is not working? My friends, belovedness is the difference. To live in belovedness is to trust that there is enough love for you and for humanity. Once you believe there is enough love, you begin to see there is enough of everything. There's enough ideas, there's enough clients, there are enough days, there is enough time. Belovedness reveals abundance everywhere. Let me say that again. Belovedness reveals abundance everywhere. Living in the love of God reshapes how we see the world. From this place, where we know we are already loved, held, and enough, work becomes an overflow of that abundance, an offering, an expression of joy. But when we work from scarcity, everything shifts in the other direction. Scarcity whispers, you are not enough. You must earn your worth. Belonging and love are always out of reach until you prove yourself. And in that place, work becomes striving, a desperate attempt to validate our existence. He competes, we hoard, we fight. No matter how much we accomplish, working from scarcity never satisfies. Because the hunger beneath the work, fueled from scarcity, is never about the work at all. It's never about the sacred work. But the truth is, you already have everything you need. Belovedness is not something you achieve. It is the ground of your being. You belong not because of what you have done, but because you exist. This is the core message of God. Love is not a prize to be won. It is the fabric of reality. Abundance is not something you chase. It is the current that carries you once you stop fighting against it. When you live from this place, when you wake up each morning and remember, I am already loved, your work changes. Your dreams change. Instead of becoming a frantic attempt to justify your existence, they become an authentic expression of who you are. You stop chasing approval and you start creating beauty. You stop hustling to make it and you start flowing from the truth that you already have. Scarcity whispers, you must earn love. Abundance says, you are love. Scarcity says, keep running or you'll fall behind. Abundance says, rest. You are already home. The shift does not mean we stop pursuing our goals, working, or longing for the life we dream of. On the contrary, it transforms the pursuit itself. It becomes play. It becomes art. It becomes joy. When you are rooted in belovedness, you don't work to fill a hole inside you. You work to and from overflow. You write the book, build the business, you raise the children, run the marathon, build the bank account, or start the movement, not to prove your worth, but because it is the most natural thing for a beloved child of God to do. To live from abundance is to remember that nothing can be threatened and nothing unreal exists. Your belovedness cannot be taken away, not by failure, rejection, or even death. And when that truth takes root, fear loses its grip. You are free to chase your dreams, not with desperation, but with joy. So today, may you remember that you are already loved. You already belong. You already carry within you the abundance of heaven. Let your life flow from that place and watch how everything changes. Your work is not to prove your worth. Your work is to let your worth overflow. Go into your day remembering you are not behind. You are not lacking. You are not unworthy. And that the dreams within you are God's fingerprints on your soul, meant to be shared with joy. May your work, whether small or grand, be a holy act of co-creation. And above all, may you remember you are already love, and let that love overflow through everything you do. I have been considering and thinking about and wondering a lot about abundance lately. And I think the reason for that is because so much of my life has simply been in survival, and it has been in a scarcity mindset. You know, I talk about this a lot growing up with a mom who was so sick. But the reality is it formed much of how I've lived, right? So much of our life was meant just simply trying to survive. And there was never this thought of getting ahead, right? So whether it's financially or even with the days that we had in our life, the life we lived was really founded on there weren't very many days. Mom was going to die soon, and so we just had to survive and make the most of the few days we had, which is a pretty beautiful mindset, and yet it bred a scarcity sort of perspective in the way we lived. And then when we only had one, my dad was the only one who could work because Mom was so sick, and we were always just paying medical bills and things. There really wasn't an ambition financially or vocationally beyond, again, just kind of doing the work at hand. And I'm not sitting here to say that those are bad qualities. In many ways, the ways my parents taught me how to survive, how we tend to the sick, how we are able to endure hardship is very remarkable. But I've learned since, through all of my healing work and therapy and breathwork journeys and other journeys, that there's more to life than just surviving. That there is a thriving nature, that there's not a scarce amount of days or time or money, but that there is an abundance. And really why I wrote that essay is because the more that I've tapped into abundance, especially as it pertains, to be honest, to money, as I've learned more about money and what it is and how it works, as I've recognized the degree to which Jesus talks about money, and the way I've learned to hold it and handle it in my own life, it really has come down to my own worth. So you see, whenever I've thought about making money for myself or for my family, maybe building wealth and paying off debt, and even, believe it or not, buying something I want, so much of my resistance against that has been, am I worthy of it? Do I deserve to have something I like? Do I deserve to have something I love? Another thing that often crosses my mind when it comes to abundance or having something is that God has already blessed me so much, and so I've run out of my quota of blessings. God has already given me so many miracles. How could I ask for another one? There's not any more blessings to give me because I've already used them all, both of which are this really interesting scarcity mindset. But my point here isn't trying to argue whether or not we deserve to have nice things or what type of wealth is good or bad. You know, that'll be a podcast for another day. But my point is, the more I've thought about scarcity versus abundance, it almost always comes down to my self-worth. Do I believe that I'm worthy of maybe having something nice? Does God love me enough to give me another miracle, even though I've already experienced hundreds? And the reality is, God is a good father, God is a good mother, and they want to bless me abundantly. I would never withhold gifts from my kid. If I had more to give my kid, I would continue to give it. I would never tire of giving them good gifts. And yet, for some reason, in my scarcity mindset, I feel that way. I think about in business. There were times when, every time somebody would start another coffee shop, you would feel threatened just a little bit. But one of my mentors had told me, Tyler, whenever there's another coffee shop, everybody says, "Oh, can this town have another coffee shop?" And the perspective that my friend had shared with me was that, Tyler, if 5% of Colorado Springs opened their eyes tomorrow and wanted your coffee, you wouldn't have enough. If 5% of the city that didn't drink coffee on a regular basis started drinking coffee tomorrow, there wouldn't be enough coffee shops in town. And the idea being that there is always enough. There is always enough. One of the other ways in which abundance and belovedness has really shown up in my life is in my tendency to multitask. I can be one who tends to have many projects going along at the same time. And that really hinders me a lot because when I start doing too many projects all at once, then I don't really get much done at all. And there was a particular moment when I was feeling very overwhelmed at the degree to which I was multitasking. And I took myself to breath work as I usually do, and I did this meditation. And something that came up in my meditation was that my multitasking is a fear response, or I think my soul said that my multitasking is a trauma response. Remember how I said, we grew up and my mom was so sick? Well, there was a scarcity mindset as it pertains to time. And so when I ever get an idea or I'm moving toward a project, I think I have this tendency to try and do everything all at once because I fear that there's not enough time. I have a scarcity mindset, and that is birthed out of a trauma of always worrying about my mom dying. And as I've shifted from scarcity to abundance in many of these ways, what I've learned is how abundant I am. Not only is there enough time to get everything done that I want to get done. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to get to do everything I want, but everything that I need to get done can get done in the time that I've been allotted. Not only is there enough money, not only is there enough ideas, not only are there enough clients, all of that abundance points to the degree to which I am loved. There is enough of these things because of the abundance of the divine, because the source overflows. And then the more that I believe that I am beloved, guess what? I don't have to grasp. I don't have to hoard. People who believe that they're beloved, they share. For example, they are the most generous because they know God will always provide them more. So they don't attach themselves to scarcity or to hoarding. They give away their time. They give away their money. They give away their resources because there is an abundance of it. And how do they know abundance? Because of belovedness. Now, how does this get practical? It frees us to chase our dreams. It frees us to take risks. It frees us to actually fail because we know we'll get picked up again. It's important that we have the freedom to fail. It's important that we have the freedom to take risks, to lose money, to do things like this, because if we don't do them, then we won't be taking action and our dreams actually won't come true. We won't have the freedom to actually co-create and work with God, but to work with God from the abundance of our heart because we are beloved frees us to actually go do the work. And guess what? When we do the work, good things happen. Our dreams don't come true if we don't do the work. The people don't get fed if we don't cook in the kitchen. Our dreams won't happen if we don't work. But when we're working from scarcity, the work doesn't work. When we work from abundance and belovedness, the work always works. So here's the invitation today, is to really consider, why am I doing the work that I'm doing and how am I doing it? Am I working from a place of scarcity? I need to work because if I don't, I'm not very lovely. I work to prove my worth to my dad or to my wife or to my kids. Are we working from a complete scarcity mindset, overworking because we don't think God will provide for us and will help sustain us? Yes, we work hard to provide for our families. Also, we need to Sabbath once a week, trusting that God will give to us in 6 days what we think we could do in 7. Are we working from a place of abundance, or are we working from a place of scarcity? And my friends, what I would like to offer you today is that the more we can work from this posture of abundance, the more we will be freed and liberated to do good work, to co-create from God, because co-creation doesn't happen in scarcity, it happens in abundance. And when we co-create with God, good stuff happens. And my friends, what I want you to do is to be free. To be free to co-create, to chase your dreams, to write the book, to make the art, to start the business, to quit the job. I want you to be free, but to be free enough to do any of that requires a sense of your beloved identity and a posture of belovedness. So my friends, may you do the work. May you find the coach. May you find the spiritual director. May you find the therapist to begin to find that beloved identity once again, so that you can live beloved, freely, fully yourselves, and so that your spirituality, connecting with God and knowing your belovedness, will then transform into your work life, so that you can work from a place of so that you can work from a place of beloved abundance. And this will change the way you work, which will in fact change your practical lived experience here on earth. You will experience, my friends, earth as it is in heaven. There is an abundance in heaven, and we want to bring that to earth, so you have the freedom to go and become all that you were created to be. My friends, thank you for being here today. Thank you for enjoying this special episode, the 4th Friday episode of the Tyler Hill Podcast. It is such an honor to host you, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode of the Tyler Hill Podcast. Please like and subscribe. It goes a long way to helping this podcast succeed. We'll talk to you soon. Grace, peace, and abundant belovedness to you.